All right. Welcome back, Amitay. It's so lovely to have you back on.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine.
I have so many things to say about your products, and all fantastic. So if those who haven't listened in to the previous part one, then we had a chat about all your range.
Hmm.
I got so excited about it and ordered all of it and have been using all of it for, yeah, probably 5 months now because we caught up so end of Jan.
Yeah.
Um, so first up, my skin has never felt better, and I know a lot of people say these things, right? And I tend to get really excited about certain products, but the reason is because I searched out the products first before I actually even try them, and then I get
Hmm.
really excited because I'm like, yes, I was right. So first up, I took over the obviously the whole range that you have been doing. So I
Hmm.
did. I've been doing the eye care, the pro care serum. I've been doing the retinol, the bioretinol, and the care moisturizer, as well as a
Yeah.
hyperbaric mask. And I've been using the hyperbaric mask probably every night to every second night because my skin gets
Incredible.
drier. Yeah. We've also been using it on the planes. We've been using it in the hyperbaric oxygen chamber. We've been using it in combination with the red light. So I've been trying it all. Um, the other one I'm really, really, really stoked about is the BioShield. So,
Uh-huh.
and this is something that we spoke about in detail on the last podcast. But I've been using it with the whole family, friends. We've got some of the samples in now as well here in clinic, and people have been trying it and I want to dive a little bit more into vitamin D, sun,
Yeah.
all that stuff with you today, because it's a big issue in Australia. Dermatologists obviously tell us that we are not allowed to be in the sun, but then
Hmm.
others like Jack Cruz and other light promoters are obviously we need light for our body's health. So there's so
Yeah.
many points of view on this topic, but really if you're out in the sun for so long it can be damaging for your skin, and in Australia particularly we have such a harsh environment in the sun. So
Hmm.
the BioShield, I love the feel. I ran out of some of the products for a little while and I was just using the BioShield as a moisturizer, and it has no crazy smell. I've had not one reaction from my skin from any of the products. Even using retinol, I ran out of the moisturizer, so I actually naughtily used retinol morning and night for a few days with the BioShield.
Hmm.
Oh,
Hmm.
it's just like cotton wool on my skin. It's gorgeous. It's just
Yeah.
so the way that it's texturized. I love it. So
Hmm.
that's my feedback. My skin itself has been very much more moisturized. It feels a lot more plump. I'm getting comments everywhere saying I'm glowing. So that's always a positive.
Yeah.
Even though sometimes you feel really tired, there's still that glow everyone has been commenting on. And I think that's really a big part to play from the skincare. I'm just feeling less wrinkles. I'm feeling um, just healthier. Like there's just a sheen, but a beautiful sheen. It's not an oily sheen. So I love the products, and we've got them in clinic now, and we've already almost sold out of the ones that we got in. Everyone is absolutely loving it. And price point actually matches things that we have available here, like Rationale products. So
Hmm.
price point's actually amazing, and no one really is flinching at it, which a lot of people want to pay for quality, and you get what you pay for, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
mean, thank you. I mean, that was, we need to broadcast that little snippet to everyone in the world. But yeah, I'll give you a little story that I don't think I've ever told, but obviously, um, to anyone who knows like people like Natalie Nidham or other people that have Facebook groups about like biohacking or peptides or whatever that is, I was probably a member of all of those groups. Quantified Self was one of them, since the early 2000s. And when we developed the product, when the product came, I actually consulted with some of these groups about, I don't know, textures or bottles or things like that, wording, marketing, because we've really done everything pretty much on our own. We really try to invest everything in R&D, and we're only, we own the company. Like you're looking at 50% of the company, and Anastasia is the other half, which Joe, do you know? So when we launched Care, just because the costs of making a product that no one else makes, this makes something extremely expensive, and the cost of Care was $200. And we sold out extremely quickly. And when we ran the next batch, we realized that we can cut the price in half, which we have. And why am I? And until today, that's the price of Care. Even though every other company raised their prices, we didn't, because we've again grown, and that lowers the cost of the product. We set out to make the best products we can. I think it's, unless we're talking about a specific function, you're never going to hear me say, oh, that's the best, whatever. But I can say that this is the best we managed to do. I mean, whatever we deal with, we try to hire the best people, the best universities, etc. And that's not that wouldn't make a cheap product. I was just sharing with you kind of off air about some of the new projects we have. I mean, that's 6 figures of R&D per product, and yeah, US dollars. So that's a lot of money. But our promise is this: we have kind of a twofold promise, that the price reflects the price of the product, the price of manufacturing the product and supporting that manufacturing. It doesn't reflect the cost of a very extensive marketing, or a huge marketing team and copywriters that are trying to sell you on some story that may or may not exist. It all goes back to R&D. So the first promise is you're getting what you pay for, and the second is you're paying for more R&D. So you're investing in the future products that hopefully you're going to use. So that's as far as being comparable to other brands. We might, or we might not, but our promise is that it is the best products that money could achieve.
Yeah. And it's so, with any product, or even supplemental internal products, it's something that the people behind the business, you need to know that they understand what is important at that level. A lot of products are created off, that would be a bit of money, that would be a good fit. Whereas the really amazing products are based upon, what do we need to actually make this the best product for the skin, or the internal issue that it's being created for. And it's very, unfortunately, I think it's rare in this world to be able to have a company backed by that, because it's more, that money aspect on top, and you can't trust, and that's my biggest thing. I'll never advocate for anything that I can't trust or know the depths of where it's been created from, or the research that's been put into it, because it's trusting that actual product and how it's being made, because there's so many fabrications that can be put on top of things. And I wanted to make, it's really hard to tell people, when you're recommending something, these different layers, these foundational points that go into analyzing a product, or analyzing something to be good for you. And then you get, others that are saying, why don't you just use coconut oil on your skin and nothing else? And why don't you not just have food and don't have supplements? But we live in an environment that's not ideal. That's number one. We are not living in an environment that has our best interests at heart. We need to counteract that. We need to come back at that. We need to be able to protect ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, this is a great comeback. The reason we need all of those things, first and foremost, is because we are doing other things that are not congruent with, the way we've evolved as an organism, right? But aside from that, we're also battling past whatever makes us reproduce. We're battling redundancy and neglect. And what I say by that is, if we talk about the skin specifically, but we can go, organ and system by system, organ by organ. Your body is basically designed to hold information that's going to pass you to the next generation. And the minute you pass that information, everything else doesn't matter, because this information was never available or was never scrutinized by evolution, and passed or not. And that's why that's why aging is relevant, right? That's why all the diseases like Alzheimer's and dementia and heart disease and cardiovascular, obviously, disease and diabetes and all of those things, the hallmarks of aging, all of those things. The reason they're passed on and they are prevalent is because they were never scrutinized by evolution. And when we look at our skin past our reproductive age, or past the peak of our reproductive age, is being neglected by evolution, and nothing is telling it that it needs to exude vitality. Nothing is telling it. There are no signals that are saying, hey, renew, repair yourself, we need to look our best. And it is being deprioritized by other systems that we need to stay alive, because we do need to be the elder of the tribe, or whatever that is. We can contribute to the tribe in other ways, but we cannot contribute by reproducing, right? So everything that is supposed to say, hey, I am sexually viable, I'm sexually important, hair, nails, skin, etc., is not relevant anymore. So we have to take the wheel. By the way, what the skin becomes is a barrier, is basically a wall between the environment and ourselves. It becomes more and more rigid, more and more coarse. It sacrifices itself more and more. And that is, first of all, we can talk about, that's actually not healthy for you as a whole. It affects your brain through senescent cells, etc. But it also is becoming an organ that is only there to shield you from the environment, and not a communicative organ where it says, look at me, I am viable, right? That's on us past that point. So coconut oil will not do it. Even though if that's all you can afford, go ahead. Yeah, use coconut oil. It's better than not using anything.
Yeah, that I've never heard it put that way. And this, I love having discussions with the Amitay because of this. It's like just different perspectives. And that's totally true. I've actually never thought about it in that way, where that communication is not only, and we do it, it's the vitality that we can perceive it in different ways, but it's the skin really at the end of the day, the color, the dewiness, the suppleness, just the way that it presents itself in so many different aspects. And we realize that as naturopaths and as practitioners too. We have all of our words related to all these things. It's so important.
Yeah. And obviously, that's not to say that taking care of your whole body from the inside out isn't important. No, this is a prerequisite. Yeah. This conversation that we're having right now is built upon the idea that you first should be healthy from the inside out. But guess what? And why is that? Okay, why is that? So we talked really, we really zoomed out and talked about, a concept, right? But if we zoom in, if we talk about the micro rather than the macro, as we grow older, there is more inflammation. The thing is that also signal for repair is mostly predominantly inflammation. So what happens is that when we have that chronic inflammation, it's like background noise. So it's not only that our body isn't good at communicating repair, it's also that this communication is being swallowed by a sea of false communication, of echoes of the past, if you would, of communications that don't stop. And that is why we have to take care of the body from the inside out, to make sure that the communication that we want to have is clear, is understood by the body. It's not like inflammation is a bad thing. Echoes of inflammation are a bad thing, right? Because imagine if every word I said would echo forever, I would, in a very, very me especially, I love to talk. So in a very short amount of time, I wouldn't be able to convey any new information at all, right? You know, these musicians that press a button and a looper, you know,
Yeah.
imagine a looper for every word that you have, right? That's basically chronic inflammation. So we have to have a way to, you know, obviously to take care of inflammation, to answer that call for repair or whatever that is, and to resolve it and to move on. And that is why obviously having a healthy body is so important. But now we have to take care of, you know, of the skin. The body doesn't know a wrinkle is a problem, so we have to communicate that, etc., etc.
So much to say to that, but where I see a lot of my clients here, and I had another, you know, client just yesterday, you know, and it was just light bulb moments where you say things like, you know, your organ. She was like, oh, you know, I'm doing all these things, my skin, you know, back in the UK, I had, you know, I needed my UV light, and it was the only thing that helped my psoriasis. And then I was talking to her about, you know, the skin being an organ, and, you know, the skin being representing, you know, different trauma areas of the body. And I was talking about, you know, obviously that's a reflection of also internal health. You've got so many other issues going on within your digestive system, with inflammation, with other components of your body. And she's like, oh, really? Is that related to my skin then? And I said, well, yes, of course. You know, it's representing. She's like, oh, that makes so much sense, because I'm inflamed and I'm on fire, and my skin's on fire, but I'm also on fire inside. You know, I'm having to put the fire out constantly, and it's this echo, like you say, of inflammation constantly. And obviously that then comes out through the skin, or is just represented in a different way. And we touched base on it a little bit last time, but, you know, this trauma idea, and also representation of how the skin forms and how it shows itself, particularly on the face with expression lines. It's just fascinating how our bodies communicate in these ways.
I mean, yeah, and that, you know, saying the body communicate to me is communicating to me is a great, again, is a great story to tell, because it makes everything way more simple. But the truth of the matter is that, again, and if someone wants to think about it, chooses to think about it like me in stories, that's okay. But if someone doesn't like stories, you know, the body doesn't communicate, the body doesn't speak English or whatever, you know, there are chemical processes that are happening. Yeah, we can look at those things as well. You know, first of all, you were talking about trauma, and there are so many things there to unpack with trauma, because everyone has trauma. Obviously, I come from Israel. Israel is a very traumatizing society. We are, wherever you are in the narrative, it is a stressful environment to live through and in. And I can tell you that looking at this environment now from the outside, living in the United States, and understanding trauma, obviously being in the military, etc., it is apparent to me why, you know, why after my military service I got, you know, indigestion or heartburn when I was very, very young, or permeable gut, what we call leaky gut. Most of the time, your gut is going to express itself in the skin. The gut and the skin are mirror images of each other. More, the skin is a mirror image of the gut. First of all, this is like the donut, right? There's one hole in the middle. That's your face to your mouth to your anus. And there is the hole on the outside, which is your skin. So anything in between is your body. Everything, the donut is your body, but these two spaces are outside of your body. And they are built very similarly in a way where they need to select what comes into your body and what does not. We obviously have our lungs to do it too, and there are a lot of similarities there as well, even though it's very different when we talk about the lungs. But that most of skin issues are going to come from the gut, chronic skin issues. If our gut is permeable, if our gut introduces things into our bloodstream that shouldn't be there, these foreign objects are then being recognized as foreign objects, as assaults on the body, which the body then recruits macrophages or recruits units to its military to attack, right? So that's a big part of inflammation in the body. But we know that leaky gut causes psoriasis, eczema, wrinkles, dehydration, dermatitis. We know all of those things. Another thing about the gut and trauma that I think is, and obviously we know, by the way, guess what is leaky in your gut? Part of it is lack of collagen. So your gut is a big part of your gut is collagen. A little bit lower, less than 10%, but a big part of your gut is collagen.
Mm.
And we see, by the way, a lot of leaky gut in athletes, a lot of IBS in athletes, because collagen is needed somewhere else, by the way, and is demanded by wear and tear. So leaky gut is also reflected in collagen deficiency. Cortisol creates a lot of something that we call MMPs, which break down collagen. So if we're in a in a constant cortisol elevated state, which we shouldn't be. Cortisol, unless it's very specifically in the morning to regulate some circadian rhythm issues, should be low. We get this breakdown of collagen in our skin, in our gut, and there are so many ties to trauma. We know that people, so in Eastern medicine, the abdominal fat is also related to trauma. That's like a buffer between you and the environment, that your subconscious is like, okay, I got to have some kind of buffer there. And obviously that accumulation of extra calories, of sugar and stuff like that, is also really detrimental to your skin. Excess sugar also breaks down collagen through glycation. So this is just the micro. But if we want to tell a story, the story is this: the better we treat our gut, the better we treat that line of defense for our body, the better the other line of defense can work and take care of itself. If one doesn't work well, the other is not going to work very well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I use this analogy with my clients a lot, is that, we are constantly in this state of stress because our body is perceiving everything as a tiger chasing it.
Exactly.
It's this, the traffic, the boss at work, the email that comes through. It's like a tiger's jumping out of the screen and attacking you. The body can't in any different way. So there's constant breakdown, constant disrepair. And then we couple that with environmental toxins and other, food ingredients that aren't ideal, and alcohol that's not ideal. And then we get continual breakdown and then no repletion. Yeah.
No repletion and no detoxification. So one of the things that is very apparent, first of all, so collagen also, cortisol also makes us or makes us release a lot of skin layers. And these skin layers, because our body can't release them and shed them as fast as it releases them, they kind of clog. That's why we have acne when we're stressed. So they clog the detoxification pathway of our skin. That's number one. Another thing that happens when we're very stressed, our muscles are contracted more than usual, and they don't move, they don't glide as well. And that inhibits our lymphatic system, which is super important. Obviously, anyone who does gua sha or anything like that, I'm going to tell you a secret. The only reason it helps your skin is because of that encouragement of lymphatic drainage. I mean, the only is a hard word, but that's 99.9%. Okay. So the lymphatic system doesn't work very well when we're stressed, because what activates it are pumping of muscles, activation and release. So if our muscles are clenched, we have a hard time detoxifying. And that's obviously huge. If you think of your skin as like this plant, right, that needs to produce something. Imagine you had a plant that doesn't no one's taking out the trash, right? So that's a big issue for our plant, that is every skin cell that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. So, back to the lymphatic system and fascia, I was reading a really interesting article the other day on water and formation and light and minerals and all the things that add up to this beautiful, complex nature, and then couple that with trauma stored in the fascia. So not only do you have past traumas and present stress that is holding onto these areas and restricting movement within the muscles, but you also have tension within the muscles. And then a breakdown of collagen and higher intensities of breakdown of actual muscles and disrepair of amino acids.
Mhm.
It can be a complete mess. But when I look at it, and I tell obviously my clients too, and like, sunlight, proper hydration and minerals, purity, trying to increase and move detoxification pathways, exercise, correct, conversations, communications with people, communities, relationships, and then nourishment. Even if you
Yeah.
have bad environment or bad alcohol consumption or whatever is happening in your life at the time, it's going to not tip the balance. And
Yeah.
obviously, barrier protection of the skin is huge, because that's something that's maintaining the health of that organ through change of the underneath layering as well.
Yeah. That's such a good point. And um, Peter Attia, Dr. Peter Attia, who has a wonderful podcast called The Drive. It's a little bit nerdy. Like if someone, don't put it in Drive, you're gonna maybe fall asleep. But it's that's one of my favorite podcasts. And he was talking to a nutrition expert, a professor that was talking about how the main problem in diets is excess. Um, work, better for us, worse for us. That's obviously individual, but also if we have excess of calories, that's when problems start. And when we're within our range of suggested calories, we can get away with a lot of things. And I think that's a good analogy for other things that are happening in our lives, like stress, like, you know, a lot of trauma. Everyone is experiencing trauma. The problem is that overflow. You were talking about that tiger, right?
Mm.
Um, I think if someone is not engaging in some kind of communication with themselves, mindfulness, call it meditation,
Yeah.
call it brain tap, and I don't know, whatever other modality you want to adopt.
Mm.
What it's very hard to get out of the loop of you telling yourself a story that if your boss yelled at you, it's the end of the world, because it is definitely not the end of the world. um, Going back, so when we meditate, I can tell you that obviously a business is extremely stressful.
Mm.
Again, off air, we talked about a company growing and getting some hate, getting some remarks. Oh, this product is too expensive, and why this is not that, or whatever. This could feel like the end of the world. You can you can imagine the other person, you can imagine someone hates you. I mean, it's the worst feeling in the world. But if you don't stop and talk to yourself and say, in the end, this is my mission, that's what I'm accomplishing. Imagine how many people were exposed to it and didn't say anything negative. And, only 7% of the people that have something positive to say ever say it. That's a statistic, by the way.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So stopping and communicating that to yourself and really getting yourself off that like snowball of negative emotions. I think that's the most important thing we can do for our health, skin health, health of our body in general, is being in a state of gratitude. Yeah.
And that greater communication gives you that space to actually
Yeah.
leave things for a moment and not overreact right away. And I think
Yeah.
I talk about this a lot with others, because it's really important to realize that we have time, we have that little bit of space, we don't have to act straight away.
Yeah.
And back to those people that, it attracts those sorts of comments in businesses. It attracts certain types of people who may
Yeah.
be struggling in life, and that's an outlet for,
Uh-huh.
so it's almost like that gratitude and humbling nature of like, wow, they might be really struggling, and
Yeah.
that's where I, come to the point of thinking about that. Anything nasty is always coming from a place of hurt from them. So um,
Hmm.
I guess you just get better at understanding that and being grateful that they've chosen your business to unload.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Especially when you're trying to do something good. If you're an a-hole or whatever, if you're trying to, you know
Get things
I
done.
don't know, no offense to anyone, but if you know that what you're doing is very self-serving and you're not trying to serve the common good, I bet these comments are not as hurtful. But when you come from a good place, probably that's when you're most vulnerable because you're putting yourself out there. I mean, that's everyone who talks to us and we talk about what we do. That's our passion project, right? That's what we're doing it in order to improve anyone who uses our product's life. Or if we're talking about the podcast that we have, we're doing it in order to improve people's health. So I think when you put yourself out there, obviously you're going to get good things because you're doing something with passion, but you should also you should know that with greater exposure, you're going to meet those things. And that can apply to everyone, every step of their lives, etc. We do use the word trauma quite liberally, right? Because trauma could be someone who cut you off in the road and you're traumatized for a second, but it can be also something concrete, someone that experienced something that is staying with them. And I think that is where we come in, or we try to help the most. And I don't know if we talked about it last time in the podcast. Obviously trauma should be dealt with professionally, but trauma in your skin, that's something that is held in your fascia, and that is also held in your skin chemically. And in most of our product, we try to include ingredients that address that trauma. Or when we give professionals protocols on how to use our products professionally, we try to communicate. We do have a trauma protocol. So, and there are, at least in the US, I'm not aware of what's going on in Australia, but there are estheticians who specialize in skin trauma and in trauma in general. And I think it's very important to treat that as well. If that's part of your journey, if you want to have better skin and you have experienced trauma, it's important to understand that you need to use those ingredients. You need to go to those people. Aside from dealing with overall trauma, you do want to resolve trauma in the skin as well, because it is an organ that stores memories, that stores energy.
Absolutely. And it's such an important point. And I think we said this last time, we didn't get into detail like we have today, but it's not spoken about very often. In settings like ours, where we talk about different body parts and different connections to emotions and traumas or memory, skin, it's not really touched upon much. And I think it's really important to realize it's our face out, it's our, if cover ourselves and we create a barrier of some sort if there's been something huge that's happened. So it will come out and we will see that through the face or the body in some. Yeah.
Well, it's the last stop, right, before things come out. So again, if we we can talk about molecules and chemistry all we want, but we really are people and we experience life. And if we want to think about it in a heuristic way, in a holistic way, this is really the last point before something goes out from your body to the world. And a lot of the times when we experience trauma, again, also within our cells, like our mitochondria, but also in general, we close up. We don't let our emotions be expressed. And our skin is really that last threshold just before things come out. So a lot of the things that we would have wanted to say or wanted to do, or a lot of the things that we feel like we should have acted, but we stopped ourselves, are being stored in that last point. To your point about sunscreen, part of the reason that chemical sunscreens are harmful to you is because they actually are like a polymer, like a shield that doesn't let toxins be released from the skin. So your sun is a detoxifier, and it's stimulating the release of toxins, but then something stops it just before it's being released, and that accumulation of toxins is negative. These toxins were in your body the whole time, but that accumulation of toxins is negative. You can see the same thing in infrared saunas, right? If you are not detoxifying well, that attempt to detoxify that's being stopped by the skin not being able to detoxify well, etc., or your mitochondria not being able to support that process energetically, that's what gives you the hard time, and you're going to feel terrible. Same thing with your emotions and with emotional trauma. It's that distilling of that just before bottles up to the surface, and that bottling it up, that is something that's detrimental,
Mm.
especially in the skin. And we can see that. We can see people who have undergone trauma age significantly in a very short amount of time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I noticed exactly the same. Yeah, and just speaking back to your point about the sun as well, you know, if all the products that you're using is making obviously the cellular health of the skin and the body better. So
Mhm.
with this exposure to the sun, when you're going to get exposure then to the sun, you know, obviously you use for excess exposure, you're using sunscreen, and, you know, try
Mhm.
if you're out in the sun a lot for your face particularly. But with that, your body is going to be better responsive. You're going to build a better callus of light protection. You're going to
Yeah.
build melanin protection. You're going to be able to have all of those underlying functions that we're meant to be having in higher quality
Yeah.
for preparation for high sun. You know, our bodies are not new to the sun. It's not like we've not seen the sun before. You know, it's there. We love
Yeah.
it from it. But it's, again, like we spoke back to even the food and calorie content, is excess that is the issue for most things.
Mhm.
And we try to access to block things like emotions and bottle up things like
Yeah.
emotions. There's so many different points around that.
Yeah, you know, going, you know, we kind of are going, we're jumping between points, but I have to, you know, talk about the idea of building callus. I think it's more complex than um again, like, a lot of respect to Dr. Jack Roos, and he's definitely a voice out
Yeah.
there that's talking about sun exposure, etc.
Yeah.
But
It's heavy.
the ability to handle the sun
Mhm.
is a muscle, in air quotes. It's not something that you can say, you know, I'm going to just start, you know, from 0 to 100 and just go and enjoy myself in 2 in the afternoon on Bondi Beach, or I don't know where you're going, Perth, but just fill in the blank.
Yeah.
Um, there, there are many things that we can do and should do gradually to create the ability to go out and enjoy the sun. I think first and foremost, you know, there's a lot of studies showing how exposure to red light therapy panels improves your skin's ability to handle sun damage. And really, what is red light therapy? Red light therapy is one of the true biohacking modalities, because it distills something that exists in nature and really strips off negative effects like UV light, right? So we get only red and near infrared, which are therapeutic lights, and they are abundant in when the sun is close to the horizon, sunset and sunrise. And that's, again, we talk about evolution, that's how we evolved, right? To wake up with the sunrise, go outside, start working. So we're communicating to our body, hey, kind of prepare yourself for this day where you're going outside. So even if you are trying to get your body to accept or to build that callus, it's going to be extremely difficult if you're not exposing it early in the day to sunlight. So before 10 a.m., you should be exposing your skin to the sun if you want to build that ability to handle sun exposure. You know, talking about a lot of the people that we talk about as far in the health space, whether it is like Jack Roos or Wim Hof or a, a lot of those people are getting bad feedback. People are saying, well, you don't look very young, your skin doesn't look that great.
Yeah, I was
First of
gonna
all, they're canaries in the coal mine. That's
yeah.
number one. They are not doing that distilling of good and bad, right?
Mm,
They care about very specific things.
yeah.
But when you're being exposed to the sun constantly, you really cannot avoid the DNA, the physical DNA damage
Mm,
of sun exposure. So UV light literally fuses parts of your DNA together, literally, by the way.
mm,
And that creates bad epigenetics. It creates, again, that bad information in your cells. And that is something that is like aging on steroids. So you are not able really to mitigate sun damage or photo aging, as we call it, just by, you know, accumulating hours under the sun.
Mhm.
What we can do is protect the areas that are really exposed to the environment all the time. So our face, the back of our hands, wherever you're exposed constantly. Because a lot of people think that it's only the sun, but it's not only the sun. Pollution, EMFs, blue light. We now know that blue light degrades collagen, that blue light breaks down collagen. When I say blue light, I mean blue light from artificial sources of light, which is way, way, way in way higher quantities than you get it from the normal environment. Um, Heavy metals, mycotoxins, all of those things that are the skin that is exposed to the environment, like our face, neck, chest, back of the hands, is exposed to constantly. That skin, leave that skin alone, or on the contrary, like protect this skin. Expose your the skin that is not being constantly assaulted, expose that skin to the sun, such as your chest, your belly, the back of your legs, your back. These areas should be used to generate vitamin D3. And by the way, more blood is running through those areas. Closer to the center of your body, there's more blood circulating there. That's going to be also positive as far as the ability to mitigate some of the sun damage.
Mm. Yeah, wow. I love all of that. It's never explained in that way, Amitay, because it's such a topic of discussion here, I tell you,
Mm-hmm.
because obviously people are avoiding, and there's huge vitamin D deficiency. I see it every
Mm-hmm.
day in clinic, multiple times a day.
Yeah.
So it's just not the education that's out there, and I think that's very important to be noting. Even while we sit here, I should be having my BioShield on. My
Yeah.
BioShield protection from the blue lights and the lights that I'm under, which are unnatural.
Mm-hmm.
Very important things that we can be using, and it can be very simple in that way, that we're just aligning ourselves to certain time periods of the day and making sure we've got the basics there with the morning exposure and then the
Yeah.
midday exposure across the body.
Yeah, and again, I'm sure big cities. We don't live in a big city here in South Florida, United States, but I'm sure big cities and the nightlife scene
Mm.
is it's going to be very confusing if I'm going to come to someone in Miami, in Tel Aviv, Israel, in Sydney, Australia, and tell them, hey, when you go to a nightclub, you should put sunscreen. It's going to be funny, right? But the truth is that if you live in a big city,
Yeah,
on average, obviously, statistically, you are going to create more aging is going to be created by pollution, EMF, and blue light than you're going to get from sun exposure, from UV light, ultraviolet light.
absolutely.
So you definitely should, especially if you're traveling, things like that, as you mentioned before, you definitely should consider, especially BioShield. We've designed it to be a bioprotectant. Every time you're outside, every time you're going to be exposed to, let's say, pollution, because it's the easiest to conceptualize, but also our artificial light, you should be using it.
Yeah. Well, this morning, preparation for being up early for our podcast, I went to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the gym earlier to do my Pilates. Now, I never normally am up and doing things unartificial light in the morning before I actually see
Yeah.
the. I'm a stickler now. Obviously, I teach it. I have to actually, I say it, I have to do it. So
Yeah.
going to the gym, and I walk into the gym and I'm just like, oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling so bad for my skin, so bad for my eyes. You sometimes have to do these things. But when you realize how bad they are, you're so aware of it now. It's just become,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I have good news for you as far as that is concerned. Exercise is kind of is it like when you shake that thing that kids play on, it erases everything we kind of said before, because
Oh,
exercise does, obviously, with adrenaline, it does spike your cortisol in a way that is similar to what's going to happen when you expose your eyes to sunlight in the morning. So exercise does allow you to get away with a lot of things that you wouldn't normally, like, I wake up, my jujitsu training is 6 in the morning, so I wake up at 5 in the morning, there's no light, but I even have coffee almost like half an hour after I wake up when I'm on the way to jujitsu, so which is a no-no.
Yeah.
But all of those things are being mitigated by that that physical exercise early in the morning, because we are getting that correct cortisol spike. I know I said cortisol is bad before, but we do need one spike of cortisol in the morning. About naturally, it's about 45 minutes after we wake up, and that is to start our circadian clock, basically our innate biological clock, so we can create, for example, melatonin way later in the day, 8 hours later, basically. So yeah, it's very important, but exercises is a master regulator. By the way, temperature is a master regulator, so we can emulate it with sauna or other things. But do exercise, please. Sauna is not a replace.
It's that's a very good point, because I was going to bring out to, obviously we're getting short of time now, but I wanted to come to some practical points, and it's really important. We talk about all these things being bad or harmful, but you can mitigate in so many different ways, and this is what I love about biohacking, because you can then do things to counteract the environment that we're living in, and you can end up better even. So I think it's a very positive note to sort of move into at the end here, is that ideally, what are we looking at for, your range? I would say is each one is bound with specific supports that are needed for each of the skin. So if I was to recommend, and I have been to people here, I would say the complete range is beautiful, and you pick your serum according to what you need.
Yes.
My perspective. So obviously the skincare is very, very important, but what other supports for skin on a quick, 1, 2, 3 would you say, we need to remember?
Yeah. So we've touched almost on all of them, but I would definitely recommend sleep hygiene. That's the most important, really. Everything else we can survive without, but we cannot survive without sleep. By the way, we cannot survive without NAD as well. By the way, you're going to die in 10 seconds if you didn't have NAD in your body, but that's a different point. Yeah, that's true. So the most important, sleep hygiene. If you are specifically interested in skin health, you have to sleep between the hours of 11 p.m. and midnight. That is the hour that the most amount of cellular turnover, cellular renewal is happening. We call it the golden hour for sleep. So that's very, very important. Aside from that, we did talk about exercise. Obviously, sweating and detoxifying is extremely important. Gut health is crucial. And of course, mindfulness and some kind of de-stressing practice. My favorite is non-sleep deep rest, NSDR. The reason it's my favorite is, alongside mindfulness, that's something that is basically free. You can go on YouTube. I don't know what you have there in Australia. I'm kidding. You can go to YouTube and look for non-sleep deep rest. And that is going to be definitely something that's going to help you tremendously. All of these things, to your point, mitigate the other harmful things that we're engaged in, the stress from the environment, the bad posture, the bad things that we're exposed to. All of these things, we allow our body the best chance to mitigate them, and even function at its best capacity.
Wonderful. Each one has its own podcast, I think. Each one that you just
yeah.
We've got a lot of. I can't believe the hour has gone already. I've got so much more to say, but I think
It's crazy.
I'm actually down. I'm your way in October. I'm in Florida, Hollywood in October. So maybe we can catch up then.
Wow. Yeah, for sure. You'll come to our little. This is our little podcast studio here. So you'll come. We'll have a podcast face to face.
Yeah, that's exciting. Even more exciting. Yeah. So I want to now just talk about, give me your ideal treatment strategy, daily routine for products. And this is something that I want to put out also on social media, so clients here know what to be buying for them as well.
Yeah, for sure. So let's go over it like super quickly. We only have one cleanser. That's called the adaptogenic cleanser. To have it work, because it's phenomenal. It increases anything from your skin's ability to create collagen, your skin's ability to resist environmental stressors like pollution, and also downregulates the bad actor in NAD, which is cellular repair, cellular energy. The bad actor in that equation, that's called CD38. So it's actually neutralizing it. So that's very important to apply it at least for 30 seconds on the skin before we wash it off. That's number one. If you are someone who wants a toner, you can use BioC peptide spray. That's super individual. It's not a must. What is a must is to kind of create or to understand what you're interested in as far as treatment and signal to your skin, to your specific needs. So if you feel like your skin is losing a lot of hydration, like it's not hydrated, it is sensitive, it is prone to reactions, prone to, occasional acne, reacting to other products, all those things, BioBarrier would be your product of choice. Remember, we talked about that that relationship between our gut and our skin. So the same way we have leaky gut, we have leaky skin. BioBarrier is the product to circumvent that. That's number one. If we are interested in general aging, we want our skin to function like a younger skin and kind of target everything at once. ProCare Senolytic Serum would be your serum of choice. That is going to make your skin behave up to 20 years younger, but also going to target anything from wrinkles, pigmentation, balance oil levels, and deal with a lot of things. Again, aging is like an iceberg. 90% is under the surface. What you're seeing now is was created years ago. So it treats everything that's under the water, as we say. So that's as far as ProCare. If you are specifically interested in more hydration and you want to double the amount of hydration your skin can hold on to in 11 days, that's going to be your adaptogenic HA firming boost. So that is specifically, we call it hydration gym. It's going to increase how your skin holds on to hydration. If you are interested in mainly acne, balancing out the oils, really, creating, if your skin is very oily and you want to treat it rather than just, hide the symptoms, green tea phyto serum is going to be the serum for you. And aside from all of that, if we are interested in signaling repair, signaling renewal to the skin, we are going to use as an evening serum, we're going to use the bioretinol. I know you cheated and you used it twice a day. You could definitely do that. If your skin can handle it, you can do it twice a day. That's going to be great. And you can use any other serum you want before that. But that's going to be your evening serum of choice, even starting at twice a week for renewal. So that's as far as serums. That's how you communicate to your skin whatever you want. Now we need to fuel that communication, that homework that you give the skin. Now you need to give it the Adderall. You need to give it the ability to follow up on whatever you asked it to do. That's going to be our care moisturizer. And for the evening time, we don't really have an evening moisturizer. But what we do have is the hyperbaric mask that goes over care, and together they become this, night cream on steroids, basically. So that is as far as the hyperbaric mask. We also have an eye cream that's called eye care, and that's kind of a kitchen sink approach for around your eyes. We have a kitchen sink approach to the neck and chest, which is the adaptogenic neck and chest. We have a moisturizer. Some people are interested in a thick classic moisturizer. So we are playing a little bit with a new biotechnology that we invested in, and we like playing around with things. So we have BioMarine. That's a normal moisturizer that doesn't have an AD, but it does have like a really cool fermented bacteria that increases collagen production. So if someone wants a classic, thick, rich moisturizer, that's going to be the one to go to. But that's kind of a side note.
Sorry, I just want to interject there, Amitay.
Yeah.
When I actually have been using the spray, so I use it
Yeah.
today if I need to freshen up as well. But
Mm-hmm.
mentioned right at the start is that I wake up in the morning and I look at my face and I think it not only looks fresh and not tired, like I've actually had a really good sleep, which I do sleep well normally anyway. That's sort of like a no-brainer for me always.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't feel like I need to put any makeup on. I think my skin is so even, the tone, and I don't wear not a lot of makeup anyway, but even today I've just got a thin layer of like a tinted moisturizer over the top at the moment, like a natural one. So I actually don't need to wear thick foundation at all,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
feel amazing about the skin. And I think that hyperbaric mask at night addition, I love that. It's like boom.
Mm-hmm. I'll give you we like this technology so much, and it took us so long to develop, and it was so, it was so, we never thought it's going to be a hit product. I want to be honest. It's a hit, a cult product. We have, you know, movie stars that are asking us for to get to sell them huge bottles, true story, so they can use it on their entire body, especially because they own a hyperbaric chamber. So they're like, oh, I want to. that's I'm not even exaggerating, it's insane.
Yes.
And like movie director stuff, it's insane, to be honest. But we like this technology so much that we are making now an essence. It's basically a toner, but it's a different, texture, if you would. It's like a milky toner
Mm.
that has the same technology and even an improved technology of the hyperbaric mask. So we're gonna have like a hyperbaric toner, if you would, because we want something that you'll be able to apply during the day and lighter and to fit with more people's regimen. So
Mm.
that's a little scoop. We don't have it out yet, but we will soon.
Oh, right.
Um, yeah, so that's pretty cool. And we obviously didn't mention BioShield here because we talked about it like for 30 minutes, but BioShield is definitely a product that I feel like everyone should take to a deserted island. Um, our friend Amy Killen, Dr. Amy Killen, just which is like a renowned stem cell doctor, she just filmed a little video saying that that's what she uses when she's in a casino because of all the environmental onslaught. So last but not least, a product that I really, really like, but is a concept product for us. We really make it in small quantities. Is the Nia Polish, which is an NAD boosting facial scrub with really cool enzymes we make from pomegranate, very similar to what Mitopure is, which is a urolithin A, basically. So this is really cool product. We also have that, but as you can see, the range is very large. If anyone needs like direction, obviously they should ask you, they should consult you what they should use. That's my best suggestion. Obviously, they can also take a short quiz on our website, and it's going to give them a kind of an overall suggestion. But I highly recommend going on a short conversation with you, with anyone in Revive. I don't know who answers the phone, but whoever answers the phone, I bet, can give them recommendations that are much more specific and much more modular.
Absolutely. I'm just so happy that this skincare is available, and I am actually very 100% confident to be recommending. Obviously, we need to do a little bit more training with you, just a few more conversations.
Okay, sounds good. Whenever you want,
Make
I'm
sure I've
in.
got on full bottle, but it's just such a beautiful range that I think it's the only one I need to have here, and it's the only one
Hmm.
I ever have here. And it's I just love that. So thank you so much, and thank you for your time today, and for what you're doing, again, the messages that you're spreading. And we still have so much more to discuss, so we'll have to have
Let's. Exactly. Let's do it. We'll chunk it up, we'll do it. We do need to be more, I think if we in the future we do need to be more organized, because we have so much to talk about, that especially me, I jump from subject to subject and bundle things together. So I need to be a little more organized, but it's a pleasure, Jody. I mean, I'm a huge fan. Anastasia and I, we loved you guys the minute we met you. Obviously we have common friends that I mean, that it was very easy to love you guys, but we couldn't think of a better partner in Australia, really. So just let's continue supporting each other, and I'm sure we can help everyone that needs help down under. That was pretty bad, but
That's a good one. You added that one in. Yeah, and case studies coming forth. I can't wait to actually provide more information on that once we get a good few months of a lot of different clients on these therapies, as well as all the supports that we're doing underneath. It's just going to be incredible. So exciting.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jody.
All right, lovely to chat, Amitay. We'll chat to you soon.
Thank you.